Today's topic, how to find an agent that doesn't suck.
Okay. So when it comes to finding a real estate agent, there's different online sources, there's different websites you could go to, there's referrals you could get, you could talk to previous home buyers that have accomplished their goal of home ownership and asking for their opinion. But what's your recommendation when it comes to really finding a pro that specializes in a specific area?
I think it's important to get all of that information, but first you got to have a basic understanding of what agents do and what roles that they have. Some are more aligned with the buyers, some are more aligned with the sellers. So I think that we'll take a few minutes just to tell people about what the different roles are.
So what are the different roles?
All right, so we'll start with the buyer's agent. The buyer's agent is someone that represents the buyer only in the transaction, not the selling side. So the buyer's agent is essentially the one that works for you. The pros about somebody like this is that they get to know who you are, the ins and outs, what you need, what areas you like. And if they're specializing in those areas or do a lot of business in those areas, they can really take you all the way home in terms of a transaction. And the best part is they don't cost you any money. They get paid a commission from the seller side.
Awesome. Okay. Now what's a seller's agent?
A seller's agent is someone that represents the seller in a transaction, and this is someone that signs a listing agreement with the seller in order to sell their property and has a responsibility to that end to sell it at the highest and best terms that the seller can get. Okay. So sometimes the listing agent or the selling agent can represent both sides. We call that a dual agency. Now, when you have a dual agency, the listing agent is kind of a mediator between the seller and the buyer, which can have some pros in terms of getting a property, but it can also have some cons because the responsibility isn't only with you as the buyer. So they really have a responsibility with the seller first and foremost. So they can't legally tell you certain things about the property, about like what you should offer, what they think it's worth, because they're also representing the seller. So it really depends on the neighborhood, the situation of who you should choose. But typically, I would say if this is your first time buying a home, you should deal with a buyer's agent because no matter what, they're going to be representing you first and foremost.
When you are searching these online websites and you're finding the property, a lot of times the listing agent is going to pop up on these properties. And most of us, what do? We contact that listing agent and ask for a showing. But it's important to take a step back and find representation with the real estate agent that specializes in a specific area and finding the right agent in that area by asking them the right questions. So what we're going to cover today is questions to ask, how to interview a real estate agent, and really based on those answers, which one to pick. So before we even get started, let's really talk about how to find a real estate agent first. There's so many different sources online and so many different options. You could contact family members, ask them based on their opinion who they would recommend. But a lot of times, just because somebody helped someone 5-6 years ago, that doesn't mean that they're the right agent in today's day to be able to help them.
Yeah, real estate is always changing neighborhoods, prices, trends. This has to be, the technology. So this has to be something that's up to the minute. And what somebody was doing 10 years ago doesn't necessarily translate to what the needs are of buyers and sellers today, given the neighborhood and the trend. So it sometimes starts with, Realtor.com or Zillow.com, where you're looking online for the areas that you're looking for, and then you can just call them up and start to ask some questions based on what you're looking for. If you're buying a home, you want someone to represent you in the transaction, and that person will take you all the way through the process, even when they're sending you listings, to purchase homes based on what they know about you, or if you're sending them listings, they can give you way more information because they have detailed data on the MLS on the back end that you might not see, or that might not be represented right away if you call just the listing agent. They'll do their research for you, and because they get to know who you are and what you're about and what you're looking for, it changes everything, because then they can immediately say, no, this was not good for you. It's in this type of neighborhood. It's not close to public transportation. It doesn't have the right schools. You get someone that vets the properties before you even get so involved in them where you fall in love with them.
Right. Okay. So back to how do we find these agents? Ask family members, ask friends for referrals, interview them. That's one option. Second option is Google. Type in local real estate agents near me or agents near a specific town that you're looking to purchase in. So let's say, for example, that you do have a selected town. Type in real estate agents in blah, blah, blah town. My favorite way of really searching real estate agents is logging into Zillow. We're going to show you real quick how to do it. When you log into Zillow, go into the homepage. And on Zillow's homepage, you're going to see on the top left section, there's going to be an agent finder tab. Click on that. The next page, you're going to see a little box that says location. Enter a specific town that you're thinking about buying in, and typically the state should automatically pop up. Select the town. Once the town is selected, you're going to see a list of agents pop up. Don't stop there. Click the advanced drop-down menu and select specialties. Select buyer's agents. Once that's selected, you're going to do one more thing. Go into sort by and go into and select best local reviews. Once you select the best local reviews, you're going to see the top agents that have the best reviews in that specific town. And you're going to be able to see exactly what sales they've accomplished in the past few years. What I would do is click on their profile, scroll down, and see exactly how many recent listings they've really worked with in the past year. This is really important because real estate agents that specialize in working with sellers might not dedicate a lot of time working with buyers, which is completely okay because their specialty is working with sellers. That doesn't mean that they can't represent you, but the main reason we're bringing it up is it's important to ask them the right questions to see how many listings they're really working with, because we want to find an industry professional that has enough time in their schedule to be able to work with you and to dedicate a decent amount of time to show you these properties, which we're going to cover a little bit more into detail with a list of questions to ask them. But take a look at their profile, contact them, interview them. Interview more than one real estate agent. And we love when a buyer, especially in our particular position, we've helped thousands of home buyers purchase a home, and seeing the ones that have accomplished the highest level of success for the past couple of years, based on the reports that we've been pulling up, the ones that really get to the finish line, that are not stressed out, that are fully aware of the overall process and are happy during their journey, are the ones that are working with a right real estate agent, an agent that's a pro, that specializes in the area, but they're represented in the correct way. So do some research, find the right real estate agent, interview a bunch of them, and select the one that you feel most comfortable with, which we're going to teach you how to do.
So yeah, there's also an ability to ask your lender if they have any good relationships, because obviously as lenders, we've had experience with hundreds, if not thousands, of real estate agents, and sometimes we know where, if we're local to the area or we know the agent well, we might be able to give a good, referral of somebody that we know we've had a good experience with, because it's a team effort. We have the home buyer, we have the lender, the real estate agent, sometimes the title or escrow, attorney. These are all important things, and a lot of times if they work well together, we remember that and we want to share that information.
Okay, good point. But guys, just be upfront and honest with them. That's really the best way of building a relationship with someone. Tell them exactly what you're looking for, and figure out if they're honest enough and transparent enough about themselves and their production. So here's a list of questions that I've seen hundreds and almost thousands of clients ask agents, and the top agents that we work with and have experience with really make sure that they go over with their clients.
Now, based on our experience in mortgage lending and our surveys of the top real estate agents and successful homeowners, these are the top 10 questions that you should be asking your real estate agent based on the experts and based on successful home buyers.
So should I be asking you these questions?
Ask me.
Okay. How long have you been a licensed real estate agent for?
This is an important question but you have to take it with a grain of salt. Some can say that they have 30 years of experience, but they might not be doing a lot recently. Sometimes experience matters. Recent experience, I think, is what matters a lot too.
Agreed. Yeah, agreed. And a lot of agents always bring that up, that they've been in the business for 30 years.
I have a 30 years experience.
Yeah, I'm an expert in this area, but they only close like 5
computers
transactions.
and computers weren't invented back then.
Yeah, times have changed. Technology has changed, and there's plenty of systems that are out there that the successful agents are using, and you want to use these systems so you get the notifications when new listings pop up. So you're one of the first buyers that has the opportunity to see the property instead of finding out about the property 2 weeks later because you found it online and that the agent that you're working with doesn't really have the right systems in place.
Yeah.
So experience is important.
Yep.
Recent experience is even more important. Okay, so question number 2. Is real estate your full-time job?
This is an important one because there's a million real estate agents out there and not all of them do this full time. And if you are putting your hands in someone to help you find one of the biggest investments of your life, you kind of want them to do this all the time and you want them to become an expert of it because again, everything changes all the time. And if they're not out there full time for you, there's no way they can, find you the perfect home or help you sell the house at the best price or know all the neighborhoods because they're not running around in it all day long. It's just a specialty, you know what I mean? It's just a side gig then for them.
No, and a lot of people do real estate part-time because it's easy to be able to make that extra money by working a couple hours on the weekends or after work, but that doesn't mean you're an expert. We all have that family member, that cousin, that brother, that I don't know, distant relative that got licensed 4 years ago that of course is there to offer their services, but when it comes to something like this, especially when it comes to purchasing a home, you'd want some expert to represent you instead of just a friend or a family member. So that's important.
That's
part-time compared to full-time.
Yep.
Okay, question number 3. How many home buyers have you helped in the past 12 months?
Ooh, this is a good question. It goes right to the core of their business and their experience and their success. So you can ask, typical of a seller when they're selling a home, they might interview a listing agent and say, "Hey, how many homes have you sold in the last couple of years?" And they need to give, they'll give a straight answer on that. Same thing with a buyer's agent. You can absolutely ask them how many homes they helped buyers get in the last year or two, and that'll determine for you or help you gauge what their experience is recently, how much they're into this, their success, and help you make a better decision.
I think it's super important because at the end of the day, they could also be an extremely experienced agent that does a ton of business.
Yeah.
But 90% of the business could be sellers, listings, instead of buyers. And if they're so busy working on the listings, how much time are they really going to be able to dedicate to you as a buyer to really drive around and show you all of these different properties that you want to see? So good point. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Yep.
Let's see. Okay. So on average, how many homes do you typically show home buyers?
This is a pretty good question because it comes down to how committed they are to the process with you, but it can also mean how successful they are. If they typically show between 5 and 10 homes, I think that's, somewhat of the average. Some people are, show more than that. Some people have to show less than that. I think it depends on the neighborhood and market, but I think it does say something about, a buyer's agent that'll say like, oh, they'll show up to 10 homes or 15 homes to a client just to make sure that they, find the right one. Sometimes it's just 5. I think it really depends, but it's an important question because I think it's not about, their answer in terms of the quantity, but more of their dedication to you.
Agreed, but I have heard agents say that they're capping them at a certain number. So let's say an agent said, I typically show up to 5 homes for every single home buyer. They no longer want to show you a home after that. They expect you to put in an offer. So if you get someone that answers, I typically only show 5 to 10 or 15 homes. That's not the right agent to work with. But if they show, I typically on average show anywhere from 5 to 10 before my home buyers make a decision on putting in an offer, that's a good answer. And you want the next...
Or the answer could be as many as it takes.
And that's a true agent because they understand it could take a while. And they understand that you could get outbid on a couple properties, that maybe there isn't a lot of inventory in a specific market based on your requirements and your wants and needs with a property.
And the good agent will tell you, no, this is not a good deal. This is not a good home to buy for you. And that's really what you want out of an agent. Someone that'll tell you yes and give you the kicking the butt forward and one that'll tell you, no, this is not a good move, even if their commission is on the line. And my experience is that that type of agent is the best agent you could ever wish for and have on your side, because you want someone to tell you no and yes when it needs to. And so when it goes back to telling as many as it takes, it's not just I'll show you 100 homes. It's I'm going to make sure that you have enough information in front of you to make the right decision when it comes time to do that.
Agreed. So an agent that just says the property has good bones might not be the right agent to see the next property with. I don't know.
I don't know what good bones, I guess.
I heard agents say good bones.
Yeah. When the house is in good shape, it's good bones.
Good bones. No, when it looks like from the outside. The overall structure and the bones of it are, I guess, good. So next question.
Yeah.
Can you provide testimonials from previous clients? And can I possibly contact them to ask them about their experience with you?
The answer should be yes on this question. Their recent testimonials, especially from someone that actually closed with them recently, if you can contact them either by email or phone call or just even read their reviews online if they're recent, tells you what's going on lately and how good this agent is without the extra filters, without the selling part of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But how do you know they're going to give you somebody that's really someone that they worked with? That's the part that always tricked me about that question. But it's still worth asking.
Well, then you find the reviews online and you just ask them. If somebody is like, I don't know, but then maybe it's not the right agent. If I was an agent, I would rest my whole case on the fact that I was honest and ability to tell no, but also on here's the people that I've worked with. Please call them. Don't just take it from me. You can ask them directly, and do it that way.
Next question. Do you attend the home inspection?
This seems like a question to the person's ability to dedicate time. If you're on the buying agent side, the home inspection is one of the most important parts of the process. And as a buying agent, you typically want to be there to see any issues or, to obviously to be there for the client, but also to see any issues as they're happening right now, instead of waiting 3 or 4 days to see a report and, or hear from your buyer like, oh, I was at the home inspection and I found this, this, and this, and you were a no-show. I mean, this is just basics of being there. Like an attorney showing up for court, you got to be there.
Yeah. Okay. What type of support staff, team, or resources do you have that maybe other agents might not have?
So as an agent, you have the ability to specialize in a certain aspect, like you're listing homes, but that doesn't mean that it's just that. You can be a team. Some of the best agents around have built an entire mini organization out of their brokerage that has a team. So they have someone that specializes in buyers, and they'll set you up with their buyer's agent and be in constant communication there. So they can have someone that specializes in short sales or foreclosures, or someone that's accredited in with certain certificates. So there's a great movement happening where agents have built a team around them so that they can be the one-stop shop and be both the buyer's agent, the seller's agent, without actually having that dual agency, so that they can separate those roles and make sure that you get what you need.
Okay. All right. Super important. But isn't it even more important to make sure that if I'm a buyer, and I'm reaching out to a real estate agent, they're telling me about their team, that they have buyer's agents underneath them, shouldn't I ask, or shouldn't I want to know who's going to be representing me? Because a lot of these super agents that are successful, that are great at what they do, they have a team of 10, 15, sometimes people, that they might personally not work with the buyer. They will represent them during the contract and the negotiation, but they might not go out to the properties with the buyer. One of the buyer's agents could show the property. So what do you do in a situation like that?
You do the same thing that you did to interview the initial agent. You have to interview the buyer's agent to see if they're a fit. If they're not a fit, then the team might not be a fit. That's just it. You have to do the same thing that you would for an initial agent. But I think that's why if you're a buyer, you go towards a buyer's agent first, maybe not the initial team, so that you can see if you find someone that's really just specializing in this. And if you do find someone that's a listing agent or part of a big team, find out who they recommend for your situation and interview them the same.
Good. Okay. Good to know. Next question. It's a trick question. Do you work with buyers with pre-qualifications?
Oh, this is a tricky question because pre-qualifications are not the same as pre-approvals. And if your buyer's agent doesn't know the difference,
Fired.
Stop right there. Hold on, hold your horses. The buyer's agent, it's kind of a trick question. But it's fair because you can pretend like you don't know the difference, but there is a difference between a pre-qualification and a real pre-approval. And just mention to the buyer's agent, like, hey, do you work with a buyer that has a pre-qualification? And if they say, well, typically there's a difference between a pre-qualification and a pre-approval. Do you have a pre-qualification? Because maybe they're thinking you're asking that because you have a pre-qualification. And if they start going down that road, that's a good sign because it means that they really know what they're talking about from the lending side of things. So that's a trick question. Might be on a little bit on the tricky side of the mean side, but I think it's a fair.
I think that's the best question out of all of them because a lot of agents don't even understand the difference between a pre-qualification and a pre-approval. And when a buyer loves a property and is ready to put in an offer, they're putting in a contract and an offer with a pre-qualification when there's 10 other offers on the table. They're not even looking at that offer, especially if the seller's agent is a professional agent that understands the difference. They will never accept a pre-qualification offer. So the difference between pre-quals and pre-approvals, a pre-qualification is basic information that a lender collects from you. Date of birth, social, and then the information you give them about your current situation in regards to your income. What they do is run a scenario, and based on that scenario, they issue out a pre-qualification letter. It hasn't been underwritten, it hasn't been approved, income documentations have not been verified, but a pre-approval, all those three things have been verified and have been approved. And it's a huge difference when a seller and a seller's agent takes a look at all the different offers that are on the table from all these different buyers. Now, of course, they could have different purchase prices, but one of the most important things that they look at is, number one, the lender that issued out the pre-approval or pre-qualification, and they typically stick with the pre-approvals. So if your pre-qualification is the same offer as another pre-approval, they will always select the pre-approval over the pre-qualification letter. So super important question. Any agent says, no problem, and puts in an offer with that pre-qualification, fired. Sorry, move on. Okay.
I think while that you're saying that, a good listing agent, not only will they know the difference, but they'll actually call the lender on it. They'll want to know that this has been, a vetted offer. No matter what they're calling it on that piece of paper, they're going to say, hey, did you take the time to check the client's credit and income and assets, and was it run through an automated underwriting, or did an underwriter look at it? So, they're going to do their homework. So you don't want to be caught on the wrong end of that.
Yeah. Here's a list of questions to be able to interview real estate agents. Know the difference between the different representation that an agent can provide.
Buyers, sellers, dual agent.
Which is both, buyers and sellers.
Yeah, correct.
Which sometimes is fine, by the way. I know that there's a few cons in working with a dual agent, that they're not going to be able to represent you, but there are amazing real estate agents that still would do a good job and really be able to mediate the entire transaction.
Yeah.
And the pro side of working with a dual agent sometime is that they're incentivized to work with you.
They get more money.
They get double the commission.
Split the commission with the buyer's agent. So the pro is that they can possibly get you this home because they don't have to, they have a better price point, that they have a bottom line that they know that they need to get for the seller, something like that.
Which is important to know, but also remember that not every agent.
They're not going to run around to different properties with you, and they're not going to do what a buyer's agent does, which is from start to finish and walk you through the whole thing. They're going to try to sell you that one house, and kind of lean towards the side of the seller.
Right, and not every agent is really an ethical agent either. So it's important to really understand that you need to have a layer of protection when it comes to buying and purchasing a home. And the dual agency side, if you haven't vetted the agent and taken the time to really interview them, but you're obsessed with the home, it could be a beautiful home, but just understand there could be things that could be popping up later on that could bite you in the butt. And especially if they weren't upfront and honest with you, or not even capable of guiding you correctly, you could end up making a mistake that could really cost you a lot of money. So just be careful and understand the risk that you are taking with a dual agent, but also understand the benefit of a dual agent and real estate agent as well. But I always recommend try to work with agents. They're there to help guide you. They're literally industry professionals that specialize in finding you homes. Even though the technology is out there, the different platforms that are out there, Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, you can literally find the houses yourself. And 50% of the time, you will find the home that you want yourself and you'll send it over to the agent. But it's still important to have that agent representing you. So anytime you go to open houses, make sure on the sign-in sheet, you add in your information and add in your real estate agent as well in the sign-in sheet, because a lot of the agents are going to try to start working with you, but it's important for them to know that you are being represented. And it's doing the right thing, because an agent isn't a salary-based employee. They're a commission-based employee, and they're working and spending hours to weeks to months to sometimes over a year working with you to try to help you find a home that they haven't really received any compensation for. So the ultimate goal is to really do the right thing by them. They've dedicated and invested into you. So in certain situations like that, let them try to represent you and get you to the finish line. But yeah, that's it on my end.
That's it for me.
So you guys know the deal. If you like the content, feel free to subscribe, like, comment, share, but most importantly, we'll see you on the next video. Take care.